Feeling overwhelmed, the man makes the heartbreaking decision to abandon his dog and her 9 puppies by the side of the road. What unfolds next is truly incredible. Corey was about to lose his mind, overwhelmed by the responsibility of caring for his dog, Ruby, and her 9 puppies. His once spacious home had become crowded and chaotic with barks, yips, and tiny paws everywhere. It was life and love, but all Corey saw was the endless cleaning, constant noise, damaged belongings, and mounting costs. He had reached his limit. Since Ruby's pregnancy, Corey had been stretched thin, juggling self-care, house maintenance, and the financial burden of a growing family. One morning, as Corey looked at his beloved dogs, anxiety and bitterness washed over him. Ruby, the proud mother, looked back with trusting eyes, unaware of the heartbreaking decision Corey was about to make. With a heavy heart, Corey decided he could no longer handle the responsibilities of raising the dogs. This realization hit him hard, sparking a drastic plan. Determined and guilty, Corey resolved to take Ruby and her puppies to the vet. For days, 2 puppies had been slower and more withdrawn, barely eating or playing. Despite his emotional detachment, Corey knew they needed to be checked out. As he drove through the quiet streets, the weight of his decision gnawed at him. Corey worried about the vet bills and medicine costs, feeling overwhelmed by responsibilities. The pressure reached its peak, causing Corey to pull over and park his car by the side of the road. He took a few deep breaths, and what he did next was shocking. Corey, feeling the eyes of an invisible jury watching him, took a moment to collect himself. His heart raced as he realized what he was about to do. He couldn't believe it himself as he took Ruby out of the car and placed her by the corner of the street. Unfortunately, there weren't too many people around, so he was in the clear. He cast one last glance at Ruby, who tilted her head in confusion. Why did he stop the car? Was he going to take them on a walk? The dog loved walks, but as soon as she watched her owner, her tail stopped wagging. Even she could sense something was wrong. Corey made sure no one saw his heartbreaking decision. With sadness and determination, he gently took the puppies from their shabby brown box and placed them beside Ruby. As he drove away, the car's engine humming, Corey left behind a scene of heartbreak. Ruby, sensing the sudden abandonment, barked and chased after the car. Despite her desperate attempts, Corey drove faster, leaving her behind with unanswered barks. She eventually gave up, knowing she had to return to her puppies to protect them. Trudging back to the brown box, she was sure her human would come back for her. He had to. However, Corey's decision was final, and the distance between them grew as he sped away. As the car disappeared and never came back, Ruby realized her human had forsaken them. Despite the abandonment, Ruby refused to leave her puppies. She looked at them with sad eyes, determined to protect them from the harsh world. In that heartbreaking moment, Ruby embraced her role as both mother and protector. She nestled beside the puppies, offering warmth and comfort with a love that chased away the bitter taste of being abandoned. For Ruby, these puppies were not a burden. They were part of her, a bond unbroken by the callous act of abandonment. Corey's choice lingered in the air, a reminder of the fragility of human commitments and the enduring strength of a mother's love. Despite becoming street dogs, Ruby's maternal instincts kicked in. She tirelessly scoured the streets for any scraps of food. The kindness of strangers became a beacon of hope as passersby offered treats and affection to the shabby canine family. Life on the streets was harsh, with time crawling by and the changing weather taking a toll on Ruby and her pups. But it seemed the universe was looking out for Ruby. Every day, a compassionate man passed by the dog and her puppies and always said hello. At first, he brought little treats on his way to and from work. Other days, he brought real dog food and even stayed with them for a while. Despite how much he adored the 10 dogs, he didn't have the means to change their living situation. But one day, while the rain poured, he knew he had to do something. The man couldn't turn a blind eye to their struggles. Moved by empathy, he decided to make a small difference in their lives. He constructed a modest doghouse for them, a simple sanctuary that shielded them from the unforgiving harsh weather. It wasn't extravagant, but it became their own haven amidst these challenges. One tragic evening, one of Ruby's playful pups, excitedly chasing a ball, ran into the busy road. Sadly, a passing car hit the pup. Ruby and her other pups saw the heartbreaking scene, and Ruby's anguished barks were heartrending. The car didn't stop. Losing one of her precious pups shattered Ruby's world. She became fiercely protective and wary of strangers. Anyone who approached, whether with good intentions or treats, was met with a chorus of barks, a stark change from her once trusting nature. About a week later, Ruby lost another pup to the harsh weather. Her grief turned her into a fearful and heartbroken guardian, determined to protect her remaining pups from the dangers of the streets. As the days passed, Ruby and the pups faced new challenges. Every day was a struggle for survival as Ruby coped with the difficulties of street life and the painful memory of losing two of her pups. Despite everything, Ruby stayed devoted to her pups, showing the enduring strength of a mother's bond. Corey eventually regretted his impulsive decision. Weeks of guilt made him realize he could have handled things differently if he hadn't been so overwhelmed. The heavy responsibilities and financial strain had influenced his shameful actions. Ruby had been with him for 6 years, and he had promised to care for her. He felt deep shame for breaking that promise. He also remembered the shelter staff advising him to spay Ruby, and he realized his multiple failures. Determined to fix his mistake, Corey set out to find Ruby and her pups. He searched the streets, retracing his steps to where he had left them. The air was thick with anticipation as he hoped to find the dogs. Eventually, Corey found them. He hoped to quickly take them home. However, his hopes for a happy reunion were shattered when Ruby, surprised by his return, barked and growled fiercely. The once trusting dog was now protective and wary of the man who had abandoned them and caused her to lose 2 pups. The puppies joined in with sharp barks, adding tension to the scene. Ignoring Ruby's defensive behavior, Corey cautiously approached, trying to regain control. But his efforts were in vain. Ruby took matters into her own paws, launching an attack against him. Whether it was the abandonment or the loss of her pups that fueled her anger, she made it clear Corey was not welcome. The commotion attracted curious onlookers. Strangers gathered, and among them, someone recognized Corey as the person who had abandoned the dogs. Accusatory glares and whispers of disapproval spread through the crowd, intensifying the charged atmosphere. Sensing the hostility, Corey, filled with guilt and embarrassment, decided to retreat. He quickly left the crowd, made his way back to his car, and drove away, leaving behind a scene of unresolved tension. The resilient dogs, despite their hardships, stood united against the one who had once forsaken them. As the evening settled, the pups nestled in their doghouse. Ruby stood watch, guarding her little family in the dim glow of the night. Just as the peaceful scene unfolded, a sudden twist disturbed the peace. A car pulled up across the street, catching Ruby's attention. A girl and her friends emerged and walked into a nearby store, laughing and joking around. The humans were simply having fun on a quick errand, but Ruby couldn't have known that. The dog stood on high alert regardless, in case anyone came close to her. Ruby recognized the familiar scent of the girl who had previously been kind to her pups. However, the girl's ordinary errand turned dark when a mysterious man, cloaked in dark attire, pointed a gun at her back. The girl panicked and sprinted for her life, with the man in pursuit. Ruby, torn between her pups and the danger, made a courageous decision. Ignoring her sleeping pups, she bolted after the man and swiftly attacked him, thwarting his sinister plans. The man, scared of the charging dog, fled into the shadows. The girl, now safe, recognized Ruby as her savior and offered her gratitude. She quickly decided to leave with her friends, fearing the man's return. As they left, the girl recounted the harrowing encounter and Ruby's bravery, but concern lingered as she worried the man might return and threaten the courageous canine family. The girl made a spontaneous decision. She resolved to take them along for their safety. Ruby, torn between the familiar security of the street and the unknown future with the girl, ultimately chose to trust the unexpected savior and embarked on a new chapter, leaving behind the doghouse that had become both a refuge and a reminder of the challenges they faced on the unforgiving streets. After Annery, the kind-hearted girl, dropped her friends off, she took her canine rescuer, Ruby, and her pups to her home. Annery, whose love for animals, especially dogs, was well known to her parents, wasted no time in sharing the incredible story of how Ruby had saved her. Grateful and relieved, Annery's parents were not surprised by their daughter's impromptu decision to bring the courageous canine family home. They knew how much she loved animals and were just thankful that Ruby's bravery had spared their daughter from potential harm. They felt indebted to Ruby and decided to keep the dog and her pups until they could find a family for them. The next morning brought an unexpected twist to Ruby's newfound life. As the family gathered around the TV, they saw news about Ruby's daring rescue. Street camera footage captured the dramatic events and identified the menacing man. Moved by Ruby's courage, Annery decided to officially adopt the dogs and care for them at home. Although her parents initially objected, wondering how she managed 8 dogs, Annery convinced them. If it became too much, she'd find good homes for the pups, but Ruby would stay forever. Unaware of the dog's name, Annery named her Macy and also named the pups. Her gentle care made the dogs instantly trust her. A vet visit marked a new chapter for Ruby and her pups, who returned home healthier and happier. However, joy turned to tension when Corey, the man who abandoned them, saw the news. Recognizing Ruby, he saw an opportunity to reclaim them. Annery, being the mayor's daughter, became the target of Corey's attempt. Unperturbed, Corey showed up at the mayor's house but was turned away by security. Angered, Corey made an online video falsely claiming Annery had stolen his dogs. Confusion swept through Annery, but social media support quickly debunked Corey's claims. People remembered the dogs had been abandoned. Marco, who built the small doghouse, shared his experience, confirmed by a witness who saw Corey abandoning the dogs. With no credibility, Corey faced the consequences. His neighbors despised him, forcing him to move. In their new cozy home, Maisie and her pups felt happy and loved, a big change from the tough streets. Annery's kindness not only gave them a safe place, but also inspired good in the neighborhood. The mayor promised to create more homes for animals in need.